Hi everyone, we've got another analysis clip today and this is quite a dangerous one. There's no big impact or anything to actually watch, but this one could be lethal in its own right. This comes from a viewer of mine who's actually a driving instructor. He sent me a few clips in before and I'd just like to say a massive thanks to Ben for supporting my channel. Anyone who sends me these clips in, huge big help, so thank you, and please continue to do so if you possibly can. Ben has got his own YouTube channel and he bases his business in Oxford, so please, if you're looking for lessons in that area, give Ben a shout if you can. And now let's get on with the clip.
So we'll see if we can overtake if it's safe. So if we drop down your gears. Oh jeez, that van almost hit us. Alright, we are not in a good spot here. Oh, please don't tell me they're going to stop there. Alright, so if you have your steering all the way to the right. Oh, please don't tell me they stopped for that reason. Stop to get a bag out there. Somebody in that lane be nice to us. Alright, BSM car's letting us go, so just keep an eye on that blue one. And that's Phil, I think, behind us. That was scary. I know, it's Ed. But that van that was behind you, you heard his wheels locking up. Yeah. They almost hit the back of us, and I don't know why that car stopped. That was... It looked like they stopped to get a bag out the back.
Yeah, I know.
They stop on the middle of a 50-mile-an-hour dual carriageway.
So what's your thoughts on that clip? For me, it's one of my biggest fears. Situations like that can happen really quickly. And it's not always possible to get the pupil to do exactly what you want them to do. It might be a situation, even if the pupil is close to test, that they've not encountered before, and I think you can probably agree that was quite unexpected. But as with all my clips, I'm going to look at things from all sides, and we're going to have a quick look now at what the pupil did and maybe what they could do better. The pupil's following distance looked pretty good, but let's check it out with this sign. It's a little close, but that would be honestly splitting hairs. It's what the pupil does now that causes the big problem. He doesn't brake enough. It's a balancing act though, because if you slow too much, you'll never be able to fit in with the traffic in lane 2. And as the pupil goes to steer, the instructor does a good job of assessing risk, gets on the brakes and steers back to the left. However stupid the driver was of this silver Mercedes for stopping on such a fast moving dual carriageway, don't forget this situation could have happened if this silver car had broken down.
Alright, we are not in a good spot here.
And I'm totally with you on that, Ben. So it's quite difficult when you're in that scenario to get your pupil to do things as quickly as maybe you would do yourself. At the end of the day, they're a novice driver, and even if they are coming up to test, it might be something that they've not dealt with before. It's really difficult to get them to match speed that quickly to the traffic that side. But now I'd like to explore a little bit more just on the dangers from the back and why it really terrifies me as well, this situation. So the silver car stopping on this fast moving dual carriageway causes big problems from behind. But when I've seen this happen myself, it's often the people coming up behind who don't work together to solve the problem well enough and to keep the traffic flowing. The people in lane 2 generally don't slow down because they've got priority, which in turn causes more problems for people trying to exit lane 1. And that's actually what I think what went on here. I think the lorry was actually travelling behind the learner car, and because the space became available sooner for the lorry went round with no regard for the learner vehicle in front of it. Now don't get me wrong with this clip, I often produce videos about how people treat learner drivers, but that had nothing to do with this being a driving school car. The learner was just literally a little late in dealing with things. But just think for a second, if there was a vehicle travelling behind the lorry and the lorry suddenly dives out into lane 2, would that vehicle that was potentially behind the lorry have enough room to stop? Well, sometimes they don't, and that's how major impacts and collisions happen on roads like this. As I've said on many videos before, that people only drive just following the vehicle in front of them. They have little planning for any time further up the road. And this is dangerous. I truly hope the driver of the silver Mercedes sees this clip and now realises the dangers that they put a lot of people in. Thankfully, this situation wasn't too bad in the end. The learner was able to get round eventually and get back on with their journey. But that car still parked there still poses a massive risk. Stopping on a road like this is only an emergency situation. You shouldn't stop on a road just to get a bag out the boot and then to deal with a child in the back seat. Why not take this exit off and find somewhere that you can stop safely? What I'd like people to take from this clip is the share and to try and make the situation better. I'm always going on about that, aren't I? But it's how things improve and it actually lessens risk massively. I know your gap may appear, but sometimes moving across to lane 2 and then slowing down and holding back to let the person in front of you move out is also a good option. But that's often impossible because people in lane 2 are barreling down really quickly. But try and think of the greater good, if you like. It is one of my biggest fears, being in a scenario that you can't instruct the pupil out of. It's difficult. We don't have gas pedals or accelerator pedals in the UK on the instructor side, and that sometimes would be a lifesaver, but it's not the case. So we've got to deal with things the best way we can. I think Ben did a pretty good job, to be honest. At the end of the day, he stopped the pupil from heading out. Why did the pupil do that? Well, it's hard for me to tell, not speaking to the pupil, but what usually happens is people just lock on to one thing. I'm sure you've heard me on my channel say about locking on, and what they'll do, they'll just stare at one situation in the mirror, or maybe one situation in front. It might have been that the pupil looked in the mirror, saw that there was space, saw the car and went, I've got to get out away from that car, and went to steer. Again, it's just me surmising, but Ben kept the whole situation safe as best he could. But it does honestly scare me. You hear that screech of the wheel from any vehicle behind. So keep lively, keep looking far. There was nothing in front of this vehicle when it started to slow. That's maybe a little clue, and like I said in the analysis, that things can happen like that when people just break down, so you've got to be ready for it. But above all anything else, I hope this video was maybe giving you a few pointers maybe you can bring into your own driving. So if this scenario happens around you, whether you're thinking about stopping on a national speed limit dual carriageway, or even like this on a 50 miles an hour limit dual carriageway, don't. But if you do see someone do that, try and help the situation. Try and give everyone as much space as they possibly can, and if you do that early, people have got more chance of rectifying it and getting on with the flow. Thanks a lot for watching. I hope to see you all soon.